I was eating instant ramen when the letter arrived saying I owed taxes on a business I didn't know I owned. My brother laughed and said I should be flattered to be a CEO on paper, until the federal agents showed up at his office. The envelope was thick. Heavy. The kind that screams government before you even see the return address. I was sitting at the wobbly kitchen table in the apartment I shared with 2 other girls. It was a Tuesday. It had been a long shift at the warehouse. My back was screaming. My feet were swollen inside my cheap sneakers. I ripped it open. IRS. Department of the Treasury. I scanned the page. My eyes wouldn't focus at first. Too many numbers. Too much legal jargon. Then 2 things jumped out at me like a physical slap to the face. 1. Notice of deficiency. 2. The amount. $42,384. I choked on a noodle. Actually choked. I coughed until my eyes watered, staring at the number. $42,384. That was more money than I made in 2 years. I read it again. It said I hadn't paid taxes on the income from Titanium Ventures LLC for the tax year 2023. Titanium Ventures. I'd never heard of it. I didn't own a venture. I owned a 2012 Corolla with a busted AC and 3 pairs of work boots. My phone was on the table. I picked it up. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I called my dad. He didn't answer. He was probably at the golf course. Or pretending to be at the golf course. I called Caleb. My older brother. The golden boy. The entrepreneur. He picked up on the second ring. Background noise. Music. Laughter. Hey sis, he said. Breezy. What's up? Caleb, I said. My voice sounded thin. I just got a letter from the IRS. They say I owe 40 grand. Silence on the other end. Just for a second. Then a laugh. Oh that, he said. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. I stood up. The chair scraped loud against the linoleum. They say I own a company called Titanium Ventures. Caleb, what is this? Relax, Maya, he said. His tone shifted. Condescending. Like he was explaining shapes to a toddler. Dad and I needed a clean name for the logistics startup. My credit was a little overextended. Dad's was tied up in the house. We just used your name as the principal. It's a holding company. Standard practice. You used my name? I felt cold. Without asking me. We didn't want to stress you out, he said. You're always so anxious about money. Besides, you should be flattered. You're a CEO on paper. Looks good on a resume. I owe $40,000 in taxes, Caleb. I yelled. My roommate poked her head out of her bedroom looking annoyed. I lowered my voice to a hiss. They want the money. It's an accounting error, he said dismissively. I'll have my guy handle it. Just put the letter in a drawer. Forget about it. I can't just forget about the IRS. Maya, he snapped. The nice guy act dropped. Don't be dramatic. Dad knows about it. We're handling it. Do not do anything stupid. You'll mess up the financing for the next round if you start poking around. Just trust your family. He hung up. I stood there. The phone buzz of the dial tone in my ear. The smell of cold beef flavoring in the air. I looked at the letter. Notice of intent to levy. That didn't sound like an accounting error. That sounded like a threat. I drove to my parents' house that night. I didn't call first. It's a nice house. Suburban. Manicured lawn. The kind of place where nothing bad ever happens. Or at least where the neighbors never see it happen. My dad's car was in the driveway. Lexus. Leased obviously. Dad was all about the lease. Possession is a liability, he used to say. Appearance is an asset. I walked in. They were eating dinner. Steak. Asparagus. The good wine. Caleb was there too. He was wearing a suit. Not a warehouse vest. A suit that probably cost more than my car. Paya. Mom said. She looked nervous. She always looked nervous when I came over unannounced. We didn't know you were coming. There's plenty of salad left. I slammed the letter onto the table. It knocked over the salt shaker. Fix this, I said. Dad didn't even look up from his steak. He cut a piece. Chewed slowly. Hello to you too, Maya. Caleb stole my identity, I said. And you helped him. Watch your tone, Dad said. He pointed his knife at me. Your brother is building an empire. Takes risk. It takes creativity. We operate as a family unit. We help each other. Helping is moving a couch, I said. My voice was shaking. Helping is lending $20. This isn't helping. This is fraud. You signed me up for a business I didn't know existed. You took out loans. Business lines of credit, Caleb corrected. He took a sip of wine. And they were necessary for the inventory. Where is the inventory? I asked. Because the IRS says there was profit. But you didn't pay the taxes on it. So where is the money, Caleb? Caleb sighed. He looked at Dad. She doesn't get it. Maya, Dad said. Sit down. Eat some salad. Caleb is in a liquidity crunch. It happens to every Bezos and Musk. Once the next shipment clears customs, he pays the back taxes, closes the LLC, and your record is scrubbed clean. It's a bridge loan, essentially. It's my life. I screamed. I can't get financial aid for school because my income is apparently $200,000 a year. I'm working at a warehouse for $15 an hour while the government thinks I'm rich. Lower your voice, Mom whispered. The neighbors. I'm going to the IRS, I said. I'm telling them I didn't sign anything. The room went dead silent. Dad put his fork down. The metal clinked against the china. It was the loudest sound in the world. You will do no such thing, Dad said. His voice was low. Dangerous. If you report this, they freeze Caleb's assets. The business collapses. Your brother goes to bankruptcy court. Maybe worse. Is that what you want? To destroy your brother because of a paperwork mix-up. It's not a mix-up, I said. You're ungrateful, Caleb said. He stood up. He was tall. Imposing. I did this for us. For the family. When this pays off, who do you think was going to get a cut? I was setting you up for life, Maya. And you're crying about a letter. I'm not crying, I said. And I wasn't. I was vibrating with rage. I want my name off it. Tomorrow. It takes time, Dad said. 6 months. Maybe a year. You just need to sit tight. If you go to the authorities, you are dead to this family. Do you understand? No support. No safety net. You're on your own. I looked at Mom. She looked down at her asparagus. I looked at Caleb. He was smirking. Just a little. Because he knew. He knew I had $400 in my checking account. He knew I had nowhere else to go. Fine, I said. I grabbed the letter. Fix it. I walked out. I believed them. That was my mistake. I thought because they were blood there was a limit to how far they would let me fall. I had no idea how much worse it was about to get. 3 weeks later I was at work. The warehouse was hot. It was always hot. The smell of cardboard and packing tape filled my lungs. I was scanning boxes. Beep. Lift. Stack. Beep. Lift. Stack. My supervisor, Dave, walked up. He looked uncomfortable. Dave was a good guy. He let me take extra breaks when my back flared up. Maya, he said. Can I see you in the office? My stomach dropped. Did I miss a scan? Just come with me. We walked to the little glass cubicle in the corner of the floor. He shut the door. He handed me a piece of paper. It was a pay stub. My pay stub for the week. Net pay, $0. I stared at it. What is this? Garnishment, Dave said. He sounded apologetic. Came through this morning. IRS levy. They're taking 100% of your disposable earnings until the debt is satisfied. Everything. I whispered. They can take everything? They left you, let's see. He squinted at the screen. $75. For the week. By law, that's the exempt amount. $75. My rent was due in 4 days. My car insurance was overdue. I had to buy gas to get here. Dave, I said. Tears pricked my eyes. I can't live on $75. I know, he said. I'm sorry, Maya. My hands are tied. It's a federal order. You need to call them. I walked out of the office. I walked straight to the bathroom. I locked myself in the stall and I vomited. I sat on the cold tile floor. I took my phone out. I texted Caleb. They took my check. All of it. I can't pay rent. 3 dots appeared. Then disappeared. Then appeared again. Calm down. I'll Venmo you some cash. Just hang tight. 5 minutes later, a notification. Caleb sent you $200. $200. The debt was increasing by the day with interest. They had taken my entire paycheck of $680. And he sent me $200. Like it was an allowance. Like I should be grateful. Called Dad. Straight to voicemail. I realized then. They weren't fixing it. They weren't handling it. They were stalling. They were using me as a human shield. As long as the IRS was chasing me, they weren't chasing Caleb. As long as the debt was in my name, Caleb could keep driving his Tesla and Dad could keep eating steak. I was the sacrifice. I left work early. I didn't care if I got written up. I drove home counting the gas gauge ticks. I had a quarter tank. That had to last me until, I didn't know when. I sat on my bed. I looked around my room. Everything I owned was cheap, secondhand, or broken. And on paper I was the CEO of a company that had defrauded the government for thousands. I opened my laptop. It was an old brick of a thing missing the key. I went to the IRS website. I started reading. I read about innocent spouse relief. Didn't apply. I read about offer in compromise. That meant admitting I owed it. Then I found it. Identity theft. If someone used your personal information to file a return without your permission. But it wasn't a stranger. It wasn't a hacker in a basement in a foreign country. It was my brother. The boy who taught me how to ride a bike. The boy who protected me from bullies in 3rd grade. If I reported this, I wasn't just filing a form. I was launching a missile at my family. I closed the laptop. I laid down in the dark. I remembered something. Years ago, when I was 18, Dad had asked for my Social Security card. For the college fund setup, he'd said. I gave it to him. I trusted him. There was no college fund. When I graduated high school, he said the market had crashed and the money was gone. That's why I was working in a warehouse. But he kept the card. And 2 years ago, Caleb had asked me to sign a stack of papers. Insurance stuff for the house, he'd said. Dad needs you to sign as a witness since you live here. I hadn't read them. I was 19. I was rushing to get to a shift. I just signed where the little X stickers were. They had planned this. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a liquidity crunch. It was a setup. From the very beginning, I was the failsafe. I rolled over. I looked at the ceiling. A water stain in the corner looked like a frowning face. They thought I was weak. That was their calculation. They thought Maya, the quiet one, the one who dropped out of community college because she couldn't afford books, the one who never fought back. They thought she would just take it. They thought I would eat ramen and drive a broken car and let them ruin my life because I was too scared to lose them. But they forgot one thing. I worked in logistics. I didn't just move boxes. I tracked them. I knew that every package, every pallet, every item has a trail. Nothing just disappears. There is always a manifest. There is always a signature. And I knew exactly where to look. The next morning I didn't go to work. I called in sick. Dave didn't ask questions. He knew. I went to the library. My internet was spotty at home and I needed a printer. I spent 6 hours researching Titanium Ventures LLC. I found the State Business Registry. Public records. There was Titanium Ventures LLC. Principal Officer. Maya Lin. Registered Agent. Caleb Lin. Business address. A P.O. box in a strip mall 3 towns over. I printed it. Then I started digging into the assets. Caleb had posted photos on Instagram. He was stupid. Arrogant. Photo. Caleb leaning against a pallet of high-end electronics. Caption. Inventory moving fast. Hashtag hustle hashtag VO. Date. November 2023. Photo. Caleb in a new office space with exposed brick. Caption. New HQ for the team. Date. January 2024. I printed them all. Screen captures. Dates. Timestamps. I built a timeline. I scrolled through the filings. And then I saw it. The bank account linked for the tax payments, the ones that bounced. It wasn't a business account. It was a joint account. Caleb Lin and Robert Lin. My dad. Dad wasn't just protecting Caleb. Dad was paid. I downloaded the statements. Transfers to Robert Lin personal. $4,000 here. $2,000 there. Memo lines like consulting and rent. Dad had been taking a cut of the money Caleb borrowed in my name. They were eating steak on my credit. They were driving leased cars on my future. I felt a crack inside my chest. A deep, audible snap. Any lingering guilt I had? Gone. Any hesitation about family loyalty? Vaporized. I wasn't their daughter. I wasn't their sister. I was their mule. I gathered my papers. I put them in a crisp manila folder. I went to the IRS website and found the address for the local taxpayer assistance center. I made an appointment for the next morning at 8 a.m. I packed a bag. Just a backpack. A change of clothes. My toothbrush. Because I knew once I did this I could never go back to that house. I probably couldn't stay in my apartment if Caleb decided to get violent. I slept in my car that night. I didn't want to be found. The IRS building was gray. Brutalist architecture. It looked like a fortress designed to crush souls. I walked in at 7:50 a.m. I had to go through a metal detector. The guard looked at my worn-out sneakers and my hoodie. He didn't look impressed. I sat in the waiting room. It was silent. Just the hum of the air conditioner and the sound of people nervously shuffling papers. Number 14, a voice called. I stood up. I walked to window 4. The woman behind the glass looked tired. Her name tag said Mrs. Vance. She had reading glasses on a chain. How can I help you? She asked. She didn't look up. I need to report identity theft, I said. She sighed. She reached for a stack of forms. Form 14039. Fill it out. Mail it to the address on the back. Next. No, I said. I have an appointment. And I have the person who did it. She looked up then. Excuse me. I have the person who did it, I said. I placed my folder on the counter. It's a business. Titanium Ventures. I have a notice of levy against my wages. But I didn't open the business. My brother did. And my father. Mrs. Vance looked at me. Really looked at me. She saw the dark circles under my eyes. She saw the cheap clothes. Come with me, she said. She buzzed a door open. I walked into the back. She led me to a small cubicle. Sit. I sat. You're saying you know the perpetrator? Yes. I opened my folder. I laid out the timeline. I laid out the Instagram photos. I laid out the bank statements showing the transfers to my dad. And then I laid out the email. The operating agreement Caleb had sent me yesterday. Mrs. Vance put on her glasses. She read the email. She read it twice. He admits here that he controls the finances, she said. It wasn't a question. Yes. And you never signed checks. Never had access to the account. Never. I can't even afford to pay the taxes you guys say I owe. Look at my W-2 from the warehouse. I made $22,000 last year. Mrs. Vance typed something into her computer. Her face stayed neutral but her typing speed increased. Click, 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 click. This account, she said, pointing to the screen. Titanium Ventures. It's flagged for a discrepancy in payroll taxes too. Not just income tax. I don't know what that means, I said. It means, she said, looking at me over her glasses, that this is no longer a civil matter. This looks like structured fraud. She picked up her phone. She dialed a 4-digit extension. Miller? Yes, Vance. You need to come down here. I have a walk-in. Bring the tape recorder. My heart hammered against my ribs. Tape recorder. A man walked in 5 minutes later. Special Agent Miller. He wore a badge on his belt. He didn't look like an accountant. He looked like a cop. Ms. Lynn, he asked. Yes. I'm with criminal investigation. I need you to tell me everything. Start from the beginning. And I need you to know that lying to a federal agent is a felony. I'm not lying, I said. I just want my life back. For the next 3 hours I talked. I told them about the ramen. The letter. The dinner with the steak. The gaslighting. The bridge loan comment. I handed over the password I guessed. Agent Miller actually raised an eyebrow at Caleb's one. Classic, he muttered. At the end, Miller pushed a document toward me. This is a sworn affidavit, he said. It states that you had no knowledge of these activities, that the signatures are forgeries, and that you received no benefit from these funds. Once you sign this, we open a case against Caleb Lynn and Robert Lynn. There is no turning back. Do you understand? I looked at the pen. I thought about Dad. You are dead to this family. Thought about Caleb. You should be flattered. I thought about the $75 in my pocket. I picked up the pen. I understand, I said. I signed. Agent Miller took the paper. He looked at me. Where is your brother right now? He asked. He has an office in the industrial park, I said. Unit 4B. He likes to go there to play video games and pretend he's working. Miller stood up. Stay here, Ms. Lin. We're going to make a visit. Can I? I hesitated. Can I watch? Miller paused. He looked at Mrs. Vance. Mrs. Vance shrugged. You can't come inside, Miller said. Safety protocol. But if you happen to be parked across the street, it's a public road. I drove to the industrial park. My hands were gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles were white. I parked my beat-up Corolla behind a dumpster across from Unit 4B. Caleb's Tesla was there. Tiny. But it looked like a spaceship parked next to the gritty brick building. I waited. 10 minutes passed. Then 20. Then 2 black SUVs rolled into the lot. Silent. No sirens. For people got out. They were wearing blue windbreakers. On the back in yellow letters, IRS. They didn't knock. They walked straight to the door. One of them did something to the lock, maybe a key, maybe a tool, and the door swung open. They swarmed inside. I rolled down my window. I needed to hear. I heard shouting. Federal agents. Step away from the computer. Hands where I can see them. It was muffled but unmistakable. A few minutes later the door opened again. They were bringing boxes out. Computers. A monitor. And then Caleb. He wasn't wearing his suit jacket. His tie was undone. He looked pale. Smaller somehow. He wasn't in cuffs yet, but an agent was holding his arm, guiding him firmly toward one of the SUVs. Caleb looked around wildly. He looked panicked. He looked like a child who had broken a window. Then he saw my car. He froze. Our eyes locked across the asphalt. He looked at me. He looked at the agents. He looked back at me. I saw the realization hit him. The math finally clicking into place. The passive equity holder had just liquidated the company. I didn't smile. I didn't flip him off. I just rolled up my window. I put the car in drive. My phone rang. It was Dad. I stared at the screen. Dad calling. I let it ring. It stopped. It rang again immediately. I answered. Paya. He was screaming. What did you do? Caleb just called me. The feds are there. They're seizing the accounts. They're asking about me. I handled it, I said. My voice was calm. Scarily calm. You little traitor, he roared. You destroyed us. Do you have any idea what you've done? They're talking about prison, Maya. Prison. For a tax error. It wasn't an error, Dad, I said. It was theft. You stole from me. You stole from the government. And you ate steak while I couldn't pay rent. I am your father. No, I said. You're Robert Lin. And according to the affidavit I just signed, you're a co-conspirator in a fraud scheme. Maya, please. His voice cracked. He switched tactics instantly. Begging. We can fix this. Tell them you were confused. Tell them you authorized it. I'll buy you a car. I'll pay your tuition. Anything. Just call them off. I can't, I said. It's out of my hands. It's the government's problem now. Don't do this, he sobbed. We're family. I know, I said. That's why it hurts. I hung up. I blocked his number. Then I blocked Mom's. Then I blocked Caleb's. I sat in the silence of my car. The engine idled. The AC rattled. I took a deep breath. It was the first deep breath I had taken in months. The fallout was fast. And it was brutal. Because I had cooperated and because I had the evidence, the IRS moved quickly to grant me innocent spouse status, which apparently applies to business partners too. They lifted the levy on my wages within 48 hours. I got my full paycheck the next Friday. I bought groceries. Real groceries. Vegetables. Chicken. Not ramen. Caleb wasn't so lucky. The accounting error turned out to be over $140,000 in fraudulent loans and unpaid taxes across 3 years. He had falsified documents to get SBA loans. He had laundered the money through the consulting fees to Dad. Caleb was charged with wire fraud and tax evasion. He's currently out on bail, but his lawyer is negotiating a plea deal that involves 18 to 24 months in federal prison. Dad didn't escape either. He was charged with conspiracy. He lost his job. Turns out finance firms don't like employing people under federal indictment for fraud. The Lexus was repossessed. They put the house on the market last week to pay the legal fees. I didn't go to the family Christmas party that year. Obviously. But I wasn't alone. Dave, my supervisor at the warehouse, heard the story. He told his wife. His wife is a paralegal. She helped me file civil suits to clear my credit report. You're a tough kid, Dave told me one day. We need someone in the inventory control office. Better pay. A chair. You want it? I'd love it, I said. I work in the office now. I make $22 an hour. I'm taking night classes for accounting. Turns out I have a knack for finding money that people are trying to hide. Sometimes I drive past my parents' old house. There's a sold sign on the lawn. I wonder where they are. I wonder if they blame me. I know they do. In their version of the story, I'm the villain who couldn't take a joke. The daughter who didn't understand business. But then I look at my bank account. It's not much, but it's mine. Every cent. I look at my credit score. It's slowly creeping up. 580, 600. I'm rebuilding. The other day I got a letter from the Department of Justice. Victim impact statement. They wanted to know how the crime affected me. I sat at my table, a new table, sturdy wood, and I thought about what to write. I wrote one sentence. They taught me that the only person who will save you is yourself. I sealed the envelope. I put a stamp on it. And then I made myself a sandwich. Really good sandwich. And I enjoyed every single bite.